Bible in a Year, the Message Version, March 1st. Leviticus chapter 24, verse 1 through chapter 25, verse 46. God spoke to Moses, "Order the people of Israel to bring you virgin olive oil for light, so that the lamps may be kept burning continually. Aaron is in charge of keeping these lamps burning in front of the curtain that screens the testimony in the tent of meeting from evening to morning continually before God. This is a perpetual decree down through the generations. Aaron is responsible for keeping the lamps burning continually on the lampstand of pure gold before God. Take fine flour and bake 12 loaves of bread, using about 4 quarts of flour to a loaf. Arrange them in 2 rows of 6 each on the table of pure gold before God. Along each row spread pure incense, marking the bread as a memorial. It is a gift to God. Regularly, every Sabbath, this bread is to be set before God, a perpetual, covenantal response from Israel. The bread then goes to Aaron and his sons, who are to eat it in a holy place. It is their most holy share from the gifts of God. This is a perpetual decree. One day the son of an Israelite mother and an Egyptian father went out among the Israelites. A fight broke out in the camp between him and an Israelite. The son of the Israelite woman blasphemed the name of God and cursed. They brought him to Moses. His mother's name was Shelomith, daughter of Debri, of the tribe of Dan. They put him in custody, waiting for God's will to be revealed to them. Then God spoke to Moses, "Take the blasphemer out of the camp. Have all those who heard him place their hands on his head. Then have the entire congregation stone him. Then tell the Israelites, anyone who curses God will be held accountable. Anyone who blasphemes the name of God must be put to death. The entire congregation must stone him. It makes no difference whether he's a foreigner or a native. If he blasphemes the name, he will be put to death. Anyone who hits and kills a fellow human must be put to death. Anyone who kills someone's animal must make it good, a life for a life. Anyone who injures his neighbor will get back the same he gave. Fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. What he did to hurt that person will be done to him. Anyone who hits and kills an animal must make it good, but whoever hits and kills a fellow human will be put to death. And no double standards. The same rule goes for foreigners and natives. I am God, your God." Moses then spoke to the people of Israel. They brought the blasphemer outside the camp and stoned him. The people of Israel followed the orders of God. God spoke to Moses at Mount Sinai. "Speak to the people of Israel. Tell them, when you enter the land which I am going to give you, the land will observe a Sabbath to God. Sow your fields, prune your vineyards, and take in your harvest for 6 years. But the 7th year, the land will take a Sabbath of complete and total rest, a Sabbath to God. You will not sow your fields or prune your vineyards. Don't reap what grows of itself. Don't harvest the grapes of your unintended vines. The land gets a year of complete and total rest, but you can eat from what the land volunteers during the Sabbath year. You and your men and your women servants, your hired hands, and the foreigners who live in the country, and, of course, also your livestock and the wild animals in the land can eat from it. Whatever the land volunteers of itself can be eaten. Count off 7 Sabbaths of years, 7 times 7 years. 7 Sabbaths of years adds up to 49 years. Then sound loud blasts on the ram's horn on the 10th day of the 7th month, the Day of Atonement. Sound the ram's horn all over the land. Sanctify the 50th year. Make it a holy year. Proclaim freedom all over the land to everyone who lives in it. A jubilee for you. Each person will go back to his family's property and reunite with his extended family. The 50th year is your jubilee year. Don't sow, don't reap what volunteers itself in the field. Don't harvest the unintended vines, because it is the Jubilee and a holy year for you. You're permitted to eat from whatever volunteers itself in the fields. In this year of Jubilee, everyone returns home to his family's property. If you sell or buy property from one of your countrymen, don't cheat him. Calculate the purchase price on the basis of the number of years since the Jubilee. He is obligated to set the sale price on the basis of the number of harvests remaining until the next Jubilee. The more years left, the more money. You can raise the price, but the fewer years left, the less money. Decrease the price. What you are buying and selling in fact is the number of crops you're going to harvest. Don't cheat each other. Fear your God. I am God, your God. Keep my decrees and observe my laws, and you will live secure in the land. The land will yield its fruit. You will have all you can eat and will live safe and secure. Do I hear you ask, what are we going to eat in the 7th year if we don't plant our harvest? I assure you, I will send such a blessing in the 6th year that the land will yield enough for 3 years. While you plant in the 8th year, you will eat from the old crop and continue until the harvest of the 9th year comes. The land cannot be sold permanently because the land is mine and you are foreigners. You're my tenants. You must provide for the rights of redemption for any of the land that you own. If one of your brothers becomes poor and has to sell any of his land, his nearest relative is to come and buy back what his brother sold. If a man has no one to redeem it, but he later prospers and earns enough for his redemption, he is to calculate the value since he sold it and refund the balance to the man to whom he sold it. He can then go back to his own land. If he doesn't get together enough money to repay him, what he sold remains in the possession of the buyer until the year of Jubilee. In the Jubilee, it will be returned, and he can go back and live on his land. If a man sells a house in a walled city, he retains the right to buy it back for a full year after the sale. At any time during that year, he can redeem it. But if it is not redeemed before the full year has passed, it becomes the permanent possession of the buyer and his descendants. It is not returned in the Jubilee. However, houses in the unwalled villages are treated the same as fields. They can be redeemed and have to be returned at the Jubilee. As the Levitical cities, houses, the cities owned by the Levites, are always subject to redemption. Levitical property is always redeemable if it is sold in a town that they hold and reverts to them in the Jubilee. Because the houses in the towns of the Levites are their property among the people of Israel, the pastures belonging to their cities may not be sold. They are their permanent possession. If one of your brothers becomes indignant and cannot support himself, help him, the same as you would a foreigner or a guest, so that he can continue to live in your neighborhood. Don't gouge him with interest charges. Out of reverence for your God, help your brother to continue to live with you in the neighborhood. Don't take advantage of his plight by running up big interest charges on his loans, and don't give food for profit. I am your God, who brought you out of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan and to be your God. If one of your brothers becomes indignant and has to sell himself to you, don't make him work as a slave. Treat him as a hired hand or guest among you. He will work for you until the Jubilee, after which he and his children are set free to go back to his clan and his ancestral land. Because the people of Israel are my servants, whom I brought out of Egypt, they must never be sold as slaves. Don't tyrannize them. Fear your God. The male and female slaves which you are permitted are coming from surrounding nations. You may buy the children of foreign workers who are living among you temporarily, and from their clans which are living among you, and have been born in your land. They become your property. You may will them in your children as property and make them slaves for life, but you must not tyrannize your brothers of Israel. Mark chapter 10, verse 13 through verse 31. The people brought children to Jesus, hoping he might touch them. The disciples shooed them off, but Jesus was irate and let them know it. Don't push these children away. Don't ever get between them and me. These children are at the very center of life in the kingdom. Mark this. Unless you accept God's kingdom in the simplicity of a child, you'll never get it. Then, gathering the children up in his arms, he lays hands of blessing on them. As he went out into the streets, a man came running up, greeting him with great reverence, and asked, "Good teacher, what must I do to get eternal life?" Jesus said, "Why are you calling me good? No one is good, only God. You know the commandments. Don't murder, don't commit adultery, don't steal, don't lie, don't cheat, honor your father and mother." He said, "Teacher, I have from my youth kept them all." Jesus looked him hard in the eye and loved him. He said, "There's one thing left. Go sell whatever you own and give it to the poor. All your wealth will then be heavenly wealth, and come and follow me." The man's face clouded over. This was the last thing he expected to hear, and he walked off with a heavy heart. He was holding on tight to a lot of things and not about to let go. Looking at his disciples, Jesus said, "Do you have any idea how difficult it is for people who have it all to enter God's kingdom?" The disciples couldn't believe what they were hearing, but Jesus kept on. "You can't imagine how difficult. I'd say it's easier for a camel to go through the needle's eye than for a rich person to get into God's kingdom." That got their attention. "Then who has any chance at all?" they asked. Jesus was blunt. No chance at all if you think you can pull it off by yourself. Every chance in the world if you let God do it. Peter tried another angle. "We left everything and followed you." Jesus said, "Mark my words. No one who sacrifices house, brothers, sisters, father, mother, children, land, whatever, because of me and the message will lose out. They'll get it all back, but multiplied many times in homes, brothers, sisters, mothers, children, and land, but also in troubles, and then the bonus of eternal life." This is once again the great reversal. Many who are first will end up last, and the last first. Psalm chapter 44, verse 9 through verse 26. But now you've walked off and left us. You've disgraced us and won't fight for us. You made us turn tail and run. Those who hate us have cleaned us out. You delivered us as sheep to the butcher. You scattered us to the four winds. You sold your people at a discount. You made nothing on the sale. You made people on the street, people we know, poke fun and call us names. You made us a joke among the godless, a cheap joke among the ramble. Every day I'm up against it, my nose rubbed in my shame. Gossip and ridicule fill the air. People out to get me crowd the street. All this came down on us, and we've done nothing to deserve it. We never betrayed your covenant. Our hearts were never false. Our feet never left your path. Do we deserve torture in a den of jackals, or lockup in a black hole? If we had forgotten to pray to our God, or made fools of ourselves with store-bought gods, wouldn't God have figured this out? We can't hide things from Him. No, you decided to make us martyrs, lambs assigned for sacrifice each day. Get up, God. Are you going to sleep all day? Wake up. Don't you care what happens to us? Why do you bury your face in the pillow? Why pretend things are just fine with us? And here we are, flat on our faces in the dirt, held down with a boot on our necks. Get up and come to our rescue. If you love us so much, help us. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 20 through verse 21. The speech of a good person is worth waiting for. The blabber of the wicked is worthless. The talk of a good person is rich fare for many, but chatterboxes die of an empty heart. This was the daily reading for March 1st.